It's a Friday, the 30th of May 2025. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on Newsplus. My name is Francisca Msheche and these are your top stories tonight. President Mnangagwa commissioned the Tabablas Interchange in Harare today, paving way for its use after its closure for almost 3 years. The interchange was immediately open to traffic after its commissioning. Newsplus will give you extras from the president's keynote address at the commissioning, as well as reactions from motorists and commuters. A retired Air Force of Zimbabwe pilot died earlier today after his fighter jet crashed in the Wajeri area of Gweru. Stay tuned to Newsplus for details on that crash, as well as condolence message by the commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, General Philip Valerio Svander. The trial of businessmen Moses Mpofu and Mike Chimombe continued today, with the U.S. defense challenging the testimony given by former Permanent Secretary of Agriculture, Dr. John Basera. And in sport, we count down to a mouth-watering weekend of football as we preview some of the big matches of the week in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. And now in news in great detail, Zimbabwe has taken another bold step in its infrastructure journey. President Emmerson Mnangagwa today commissioned the iconic Tabablas Interchange, a multi-million-dollar project named after his Liberation War Nom du Guerre. The structure is set to ease the traffic flow in the capital and boost Zimbabwe's role as a regional transit hub. Ibn Mabunda gives us more.
Named after President Emmerson Mnangagwa's Liberation War pseudonym, Tabablas Driskadozo Mabunudzokerai, the iconic Tabablas Interchange was officially commissioned in Harare today, a landmark infrastructure milestone that marks a new era in Zimbabwe's transport and logistics network. The multi-level interchange, built at a cost of $88 million, is expected to significantly improve traffic circulation in the capital, while strengthening Zimbabwe's role as a key transit country linking the north and south of the African continent. Speaking at the commissioning, President Mnangagwa underscored the significance of the project, not just for Zimbabwe, but for the entire SADC region.
The North-South Corridor, Beira Development and Limpopo corridors are anchors of our connectivity. My government is implementing a broad array of initiatives to reduce transit times. These include infrastructure like this Tabablas Interchange.
The Tabablas Interchange is a major infrastructure project aimed at easing traffic congestion in southern Harare. Located at the intersection of Simon Mazorodze Road, Chitungwiza Road and Highland Road, it links key routes including Chitungwiza, the Beitbridge Highway and other key southern capital routes. The interchange features 15 major bridges, multi-level carriageways, dedicated pedestrian walks and advanced traffic control systems to enhance safety and mobility.
Infrastructure, Migwagwa, is also central to the accessibility of goods and services to our people, which leads to the improvement of the quality of life for every Zimbabwean.
Funded through internally generated funds and executed by a joint venture of local firms, Tensor Systems, Fossil Constructing and Masimba Construction operating as Teforma Construction, the project showcases Zimbabwean engineering capacity. Over its 3-year construction period, it created more than 1,500 jobs and now stands as a symbol of progress, urban renewal and national development. The Minister of Transport, Honorable Felix Mona, highlighted the broader economic logistical impact of the project both locally and regionally.
kuti makamisikidza vana venyu vanova ndo macontractors vakushanda mabasa anoshamisa tatiri kushanda nemhuri yetefoma yevana venzvimbo ino ngavatendwe vanhu vachishanda siku nesikati vasinyarare baba ndinotenda naivavo.
For the capital, the Tabablas interchange built along the Harare-Masvingo highway is not just an infrastructure upgrade, it's a transformation of the cityscape and mobility network, as the Minister for Harare Province explained.
We have witnessed firsthand how strategic infrastructure investments are creating new opportunities across all sectors of the economy. These investments have not only translated to more productivity, but are making Harare more attractive to visitors.
As part of Zimbabwe's commitment to Vision 2030, the government says similar signature projects will be rolled out across the country, reinforcing Zimbabwe's strategic importance in regional trade and transportation. From symbolic significance to practical impact, the Tabablas interchange is more than infrastructure. It's a declaration that Zimbabwe is open for progress, investment and regional leadership. Eben Mabunda, reporting for ZTN Prime in Harare.
Now Faith Nyaude gives us more details on the Tabablas interchange design.
Hello and good evening. For anyone who have driven through the south of Harare, frustration has been the order of the day, or was the order of the day. Then known as the Mbuzi roundabout, the traffic circle had really become a nightmare for motorists. Those who plied the route, I'm sure, still remember the winding traffic jams that were the norm of the day. But for those who were not familiar with the infamous Mbuzi roundabout, imagine this. 3 major roads, Simon Mazorodze coming from the city and heading down to Beitbridge, Chitungwiza Road bringing everyone from Chitungwiza, and Highglen Road connecting our western suburbs, that is Glenview and Glenora, all intersecting at the central roundabout, which acted as a filter, but was now dealing with traffic that was beyond its capacity. Fast forward to today, May 30th, 2025. And that chaotic circle, a nightmare, has been replaced by a dreamy world-class interchange, the Tabablas interchange. This interchange spreads traffic on multiple levels with impressive bridges, 15 of them, with 13 that are directly on the interchange, with roads that are passing over others. The core principle behind its architectural design is meant to separate traffic onto different levels, that is eliminating direct conflict points that caused the previous gridlock. For example, through traffic on the main Simon Mazorodze Road, popularly the Beitbridge Harare Highway, can now flow more freely, often on an elevated section, without being interrupted by traffic that is turning from Chitungwiza or Highglen roads. If you're coming from Chitungwiza Road and want to head south on Simon Mazorodze, you will now use a dedicated ramp that merges you smoothly rather than fighting for a gap in a congested roundabout, as was the case before. Similarly, specific loops like the Masvingo-Glenora loop are designed to facilitate easier transitions between these major routes. So in essence, instead of everyone fighting for space on one level, the traffic is now separated. If you're driving straight down Simon Mazorodze, you might be on a flyover, cruising above the local traffic. If you're coming from Chitungwiza and heading towards Glenville, you have loops that feed into express lanes. But with all this convenience, the interchange has brought the express lanes, the international standard roads, and of course a nice view of its architectural design. Do remember to drive to stay alive.
Still on the new Tabablas interchange, citizens have welcomed the new Tabablas interchange, praising efforts by authorities in addressing the long-standing congestion concerns. Our ZTN crew toured the interchange to get reactions from the community.
What was affectionately known as the Mbuzi roundabout has been transformed, as you can see, into a new landmark with a new name. The commissioning of this new interchange was marked with pomp and fanfare. Now, to memorialize the history of the role that President Mnangagwa played in the liberation struggle and his Chimurenga name, this old Mbuzi roundabout is now known as the Tabablas interchange. The interchange boasts of aesthetic appeal and world-class signage, setting a new standard for infrastructure development in Zimbabwe. The project, which has been under construction for some time, has brought joy to residents who witnessed its transformation.
Saka maonera ndaita nezvikuitwa panapa kubva ichitanga kuvakwa kusvika nhasi tichipemberera kuvhurwa kwayo. Zvinhu zvakanaka. Zvatinoona ma-African movements, mabridges zviya tazviona kuno kuZimbabwe.
Ndakaona zvangu ichitangwa nzvimbo iyi ndaisafungidzira ndo zvazvichave, but hazviri kuratidza hope. Mukuru washanda zvisingaiti. Vashanda hatinozvitenda.
Ndafara pakanaka. Pari kuoneka kuti hameno imwe nyika yatava. Pari kunakidza, pari kuyevedza. Vedu ngatingofarai nezviri kuitwa munyika.
This is a solution to long hours of congestion struggles experienced on the old roundabout, bringing relief to motorists.
Tatanzo nekutenderera nekuloka kweroad, tatanzo netraffic, especially direction nekuma steps uko. Saka isha tafara singamboite.
Takakura tichingonza kuti kuHarare kune roundabout mbudzi, kune chakadai tichisvika kwaitotyisa. Kuchingoitwa zvokubatwa vanhu kuchidii, but izvozvi zvatifunga kuti pachange paine zvakanayo zvakaipa zvachabuda futi. Izvozvi takuyevedzwa nenyika yedu, wanobvawo kunze wachauya chionawo munyika medu.
The Interchange's design also prioritizes safety for everyone with dedicated paths for pedestrians and cyclists.
Pedestrians will be moving so very freely and so very nicely because of the roads have been expanded and they are showing a great deal.
Now, it may take a little while for citizens to get used to these new roads, but one thing's for sure, as they drive, walk and cycle on these new lanes, the refreshing flow of traffic will be greatly appreciated. Wadzanai Sansole, ZTN Prime.
Moving on with our stories, Zimbabwe has assured its global peers of its undiluted commitment to address climate change and doubling efforts in curtailing global warming despite its historically insignificant role in creating the problem. Vice President Dr. Constantino Chiwenga gave the assurance when he addressed the high-level international conference on glaciers preservation here yesterday. The Vice President is on a working visit which has seen him partaking in economic development engagements. Zimbabwe's participation at the climate change conference is part of government's diplomatic offensive, with which the Second Republic is seeking an amplified progressive international voice. In his address, VP Chiwenga said it is crucial for international financing mechanisms, including the Global Environment Facility and the Green Climate Fund, to be adequately resourced. Moving on with our stories, a seasoned Air Force of Zimbabwe pilot, retired squadron leader Ritswanetsi Vuyongube, died yesterday in a crash involving an F-7 fighter jet in the Wajeri area along the Gwerimvuma Road. The pilot, who had rejoined the Air Force of Zimbabwe from retirement due to his passion for flying and dedication to serving his nation, was one of the experienced pilots training young fighter pilots at Josiah Tungamirai Air Force Base. In a statement yesterday, the ZDF said the aircraft was on a routine sortie, adding that the exact cause of the crash is currently under investigation. Commander of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, General Philip Valerius Wanda, described the late pilot as a proficient and highly experienced pilot. Squadron leader Ngube, after an aircraft accident, he expressed his condolences to the family and friends of the deceased. A SADC region is seeking ways to reduce acute food insecurity in the region and improve agriculture contribution to economic transformation. Zimbabwe Minister of Agriculture, Anxious Masuga, emphasized the need to prioritize regional strategies that can enhance socio-economic sustainability through agriculture. He said this during a joint virtual meeting of SADC Council of Ministers responsible for agriculture, fisheries and aquaculture, which convened today.
Many of our nations have agriculture as one of the primary industries, contributing immensely to GDP, and a large proportion of our populations, upwards of 70%, is actually involved in agriculture. And agriculture also offers employment to the bulk of our citizens. Such is the importance of agriculture. But as we emerge from the worst drought in living memory, many will recall the drastic reduction in cereal production across the entirety of our region. And as we do so, we must emerge stronger.
The SADC bloc is also seeking ways to expand the development of agro-processing value chain, management of fisheries and aquaculture management fisheries.
FAO continues to support countries in the SADC region and beyond to achieve their restoration commitments under the regional AFR 100 initiative. Just last week in Cape Town, the SADC region adopted its new regional biodiversity strategy and action plan, for which FAO provided technical support. The strategy includes strong integration of agro-biodiversity, sustainable agri-food system, and cross-sectoral coordination. By providing research and technical assistance, FAO helps regional governments implement practices that enhance agricultural productivity while preserving natural resources.
Newsplus takes a break. Stay tuned.
The Rural Electrification Fund, REF, is inviting bids from reputable bidders for the following tenders. Tender number 1, REF Domestic 1605-2025 Domestic Tender. Item description: construction of perimeter walls and guardrooms for various REF provincial stands. Total quantity 3. Closing date and time 11 July 2025 at 10 a.m. Tender number 2, REF Domestic 1605-2025 Domestic Tender. Item description: provision of vehicle tracking services for REF vehicles. Total quantity 1. Closing date and time 27 June 2025 at 10 a.m. Tender number 3, REF Domestic 1605-2025 Domestic Tender. Item description: supply and delivery of biogas scrubbers and cleaning equipment. Total quantity 1. Closing date and time 27 June 2025 at 10 a.m. Tender number 4, REF Domestic 1605-2025 Domestic Tender. Item description: supply and delivery of a 32-seater Toyota minibus. Total quantity 1. Closing date and time 27 June 2025 at 10 a.m. Bidding documents are available on the electronic government procurement system egp.pras.org.zw. Bid submission shall also be done on the EGP system not later than the dates and times stated above. The site visit for construction works for perimeter walls and guardrooms tender shall be as follows: Matabeleland North Province, Lupane, 19 June 2025 at 11 a.m. Mashonaland Central Province, 24 June 2025 at 11 a.m. Mashonaland West Province, 25 June 2025 at 11 a.m. Rural Electrification Fund, Magetsi Kumusha, Amagetsi Ekaya.
Stuck on you. Ooh, obsessed with you. I'm obsessed.
With Showmax, your favorite characters now follow you anywhere. Download it today and watch the best in local, international, and everything in between.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on Newsplus. The trial of fraud accused businessmen Moses Mbofu and Mike Chimombe continued this morning with the state's key witness Dr. John Basera being cross-examined. The two are accused of defrauding the government of $7.7 million in the presidential God pass-on scheme. Allegations they deny, insisting that they never lied about the existence of the 32,500 gods. They argue that the ministry did not avail the agreed funds for the gods to be acquired.
Dr. John Basera continued his testimony this morning, supporting the state's allegations against the two businessmen. He was then put under cross-examination with Mpofu's lawyer, Tabson Zetero, arguing that the two were wrongly charged as the contract was awarded to Black Deck. Dr. Basera responded, telling the court that the two were in court as representatives of the company Black Deck.
kambani yakauya uye ine varidzi vakaemerera.
That is what I have already answered to. That the company is the one that came with the representatives.
Right. On the list of the people who participated in the bid, the 4 people that participated in the bid, none of them is called Moses Mpofu, correct?
The defense said Dr. Basera had not produced anything in court to support the allegation that Mpofu lied to have 32,500 goats in the holding pens. Jetero said his clients wrote to the ministry saying the goats were there but had not been put under one roof, a claim Dr. Basera refused.
The goats were not at a central pens but were scattered in the communities. He said there might be 50 to 100 farmers in a community who might, so it's not very clear, who might be holding their stock. This would then take a lot of time to do the verification, he said.
The defense further claimed the total figure of the goats was reduced from 87 million to 65.8 million after negotiations between the two parties. The defense argued that the parties agreed that the ministry was to pay his clients in advance of 30% but failed. Dr. Basera said they could not pay the figure because the accused persons were not truthful.
So what was ultimately paid as advance payment was not equal to 30% of 65.8 million.
In other words, your ministry did not comply with clause 29. Either way, whether you are taking the contract sum to being 87 million or 65 million, all the same, the amount that was paid was far less than 30% of either of the two.
The cross-examination will continue on June 2. For TN Prime, I'm Kimberly Chimbalanga in Harare.
Peri-urban communities around Bulawayo are facing a growing threat from Veld fires as the dry season sets in. Authorities are raising the alarm, citing the close proximity of dry vegetation to residential areas and increasingly human activities such as illegal mining and poor farming practices.
The dry season running from May to October brings with it the risk of destructive Veld fires, with peri-urban areas, including those near Bulawayo, among the hardest hit. The Environmental Management Agency says the mix of dry vegetation and unregulated human activity is a dangerous combination. The agency has recorded numerous fire incidents linked to land clearing for agriculture and illegal mining, where land is left exposed and flammable debris is often burned without control. Emma Provincial Environment and Public Education Officer Kaylin Due said a total of 156 hectares of land was burnt in 2024, an 89% decrease compared to 1,451 hectares lost to Veld fires in 2023. The decline is attributed to effective programming and community support.
And then what are some of the initiatives that have been done by communities? You will notice that, if you can allow me to say this in isiNdebele, ukusika utshani is something that has been prevalent emakhaya, right? But here in the city, we have also noticed that people actually cut grass. Why is that the case? There are certain projects that they'll be doing.
The consequences are far-reaching and include property damage, loss of biodiversity, air and water pollution, and declining soil fertility. In some communities, fires have come within meters of homes, while in some, homes have burned to the ground due to runaway fires. In Bulawayo, Ward 4, 17 and Ward 6 are some of the most fire-prone areas. And Emma has proposed hay baling as a fire prevention and environmental protection strategy.
So in total, we only had 156.59 hectares of land that was burnt. This is attributed to quite a number of reasons. So this is just an overview of the trends analysis. You will notice that in 2021, we had 400 hectares just about 420 hectares of land that was burned. Then in 2022, it skyrocketed.
Bulawayo's Fire and Emergency Services Department is bracing for a challenging season, but they say most fires are preventable and communities must take the lead. The department called for residents in higher danger zones to increase their fire guards from the standard 9 meters up to 20 meters where land permits.
Then I've said Hillside, Machamhlope, Four Winds, Benside areas around Western School are test properties. Hence, we need to intensify control burn-off program. In other areas, we need to go beyond the 9 meter standard. What fire guard? The standard fire guard is 9 meters. However, but for this year, we're saying let's go beyond the 9 meter standard fire guard. So we need to go around 15 to 18 meters. Let's double that.
The Forest Commission is warning that Veld fires are wiping out forested areas, some of which are protected, while efforts to rehabilitate the land are being set back by years.
Fires also destroy our biodiversity, whereby some of the tree species will end up becoming extinct. As we know, we have our indigenous tree species around the country, which we should protect. So if we don't control our fire, some of the tree species will end up becoming extinct.
As the fire season nears, stakeholders are calling for urgent behavioral change, increased enforcement, and more public education to reduce fire outbreaks. Authorities say Veld fires are not just a natural hazard, they are increasingly man-made. With the dry season now upon us, the call is clear: to stop unsafe practices and protect lives, property, and the environment. For ZTN Prime, I'm Andile Chuma in Bulawayo.
The Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority, ZERA, has intensified its effort to promote accountability and transparency in its internal operations. This development was announced at the 2025 Internal Auditors Awareness Month event held under the theme Striding Towards Strength, Health, Inclusion and Internal Audit Action. The upscaled efforts aim to foster a culture of transparency and accountability within ZERA, ensuring that the organization operates with the highest standards of integrity.
The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission, ZAC, has a critical mandate to combat corruption in the public or private institutions. To achieve this, a strong collaboration with stakeholders is essential. The Zimbabwe Energy Regulatory Authority internal auditors have been instrumental to this cause.
What we are seeing is a maturing internal audit function that is not only strong and structured, but also people-centered and action-oriented. That in itself is a stride towards strength. We look forward to what the next decade of internal auditing at ZERA will bring.
ZAC Chairperson Michelle Razor outlined procedures to enhance accountability and eradicate corruption. Collaboration with internal auditors will help formulate practices and systems that facilitate transparency.
In these functions of the Commission, Honorable Board Chair, board members and members of the Secretariat, in executing its mandate, the Commission, through the Prevention of Corruption and Corporate Governance Department, carries out compliance checks and systems reviews in the public and private sectors, and also facilitates the establishment of integrity committees. Through the Investigations Department, the Commission receives complaints, investigates, arrests, and refers matters to the National Prosecuting Authority.
The Commission relies heavily on the support of the Audit and Risk Department in strengthening institutional controls. However, internal auditors often face challenges in their line of duty. In some organizations, internal auditors are perceived negatively, treated with contempt, and even labeled sellouts. This can hinder their ability to perform their duties effectively.
There have been extreme cases where auditors have been subjected to unfair treatment, demotions, or even termination of employment. This fear of retaliation creates a stressful work environment, restricting auditors from reporting critical issues honestly and undermining their ability to perform their duties effectively.
Another challenge faced by internal auditors is the lack of cooperation from colleagues during audits. Employees and management often withhold information or delay responses to avoid scrutiny. To mitigate these challenges, ZERA has taken a strong stance to support internal auditors.
We have lobbied for the legislation of whistleblower protection, and our efforts are bearing fruit. I am glad to advise that the draft bill has been completed by the Attorney General's office and awaits to be tabled.
ZAC has commended ZERA for their commitment to transparency and accountability, demonstrated by its consistent submission of reports to management by external auditors. As the fight against corruption continues, it is now incumbent upon other private and public institutions to follow suit. Tafaras Wechiwe for ZTN Prime.
When we come back, we give you news from around the world. Stay tuned.
Stay connected to DSTV this April and May and get all the football finals you want.
The National Social Security Authority, NASA, would like to inform all registered employers of the waiver of penalties related to the late submission of P4 returns. All employers with outstanding P4 submissions penalties for the period January 2024 to November 2024 are eligible to apply, subject to the following conditions: submitting a formal letter for waiver by 30 June 2025, uploading all outstanding P4 returns to current, settling the principal POBS and APWCS contribution and premiums arrears, updating employees' records to match active employees declared against employee listing. This initiative is part of NASA's ongoing commitment to enhance social security coverage while supporting employers facing financial constraints. For more information, contact any NASA office or numbers appearing on your screen. NASA, a lifelong promise.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us on ZTN Prime. A suspect wanted for the murder of a South African university student was killed in a shootout with police. The man had been linked to the death of Olerato Mogale, whose body was found in Johannesburg on Sunday, about 2 hours after she was reported missing, having gone on a date. In the early hours of Friday morning, police officers found the main suspect hiding at a residential complex in the coastal town of Amazimkhulu. The suspect, who had not been named by the police, shot at the officers who returned the fire and killed him, Brigadier Mate added. Moving on with our stories, Harvard students remain concerned about the status of international classmates even after a court issued a temporary injunction against U.S. President Donald Trump's policy that would revoke their right to study at the prestigious university. Federal Judge Alison Burroughs on Thursday extended a temporary restraining order on the Trump administration's policy that aimed to prevent Harvard University from enrolling international students. Harvard students expressed relief at the court's ruling, but highlighted the anxiety caused by the academic disruptions and ongoing uncertainty prior to the decision.
My immediate reaction is that thinking of like the harm that it will do, I guess, to, of course, the international students, but also Harvard, the Harvard community, Massachusetts economy, but even the U.S. and even global economy. I think it's going to cause students to go potentially to other universities, but it might also create a situation where Trump is not just attacking Harvard, because he's also attacked Columbia and other Ivy League schools, Penn and so on.
The conflict between Russia and Ukraine continues to intensify, with both sides reporting casualties in the last 24 hours. Russia's Ministry of Defense announced that its forces had repelled Ukrainian attacks in multiple directions, including Sumy, Kharkiv and Donetsk. According to the statement, Russian air defense units shot down 6 guided bombs and 123 Ukrainian drones. Additionally, Russian forces claimed control over the 3 settlements in the Kharkiv region and other areas. Palestinians in Gaza continue to suffer from intensifying Israeli attacks and the ensuing famine and disease as the ongoing conflict marks its 600th day anniversary with no clear end in sight. A statement released by the Gaza-based health authorities on Thursday said that the Palestinian death toll in the Strip rose to 54,249, with 123,492 others injured since the outbreak of the Israeli-Hamas conflict in early October 2023. As Israel's blockade of international aid continues, Gaza's residents said they are being robbed of the hope for a peaceful life.
كل لحظة أو كل دقيقة في 600 يوم في شهداء، في عذاب، في جوع، في بهدلة، في حياة قحط لآخر درجة.
China has firmly opposed U.S. arms sales to China's Taiwan region. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said at a press briefing in Beijing. Lin made the remarks in response to a media query about the United States selling weapons to Taiwan. Stand by for business news up next. Stay tuned.
Captain Wally J's about to take you to boot camp.
It's the riveting science and tech show that keeps you up to date with the hottest gizmos on the block and revealing the illustrious and innovative visionaries in Zimbabwe. So much to see, you'll keep swiping.
This cherry red beauty is the Dairy Auto M7 mini electric car.
They've designed our brute force incubator board.
Look at what we've got here.
Solar powered scarecrow was part of the project that I was supposed to complete.
Catch Swipe every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294. Get the picture?
Harare. Tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoilt.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Welcome back. In business news, the government has prioritized efforts to densify and regularize informal settlements with greater involvement from the private sector. This was revealed by Housing Minister Jem Soda at the second session of the United Nations Habitat Assembly currently underway in Nairobi, Kenya. The session, which closes today, has drawn over 1,200 delegates, including ministers, governors and city mayors, to deliberate on sustainable urban development and housing solutions. The Assembly considered the UN Habitat Strategic Plan for 2026 to 2029, which prioritizes housing, land and basic services as the global housing crisis continues to affect nearly 3 billion people.
And for all new housing projects, it is a requirement that 40% of the land has to be for developing high-rise buildings. We are also looking at regularization of informal settlements, and to achieve that, as a government, we had to come up with a special purpose vehicle which is now crowding in the private sector to bring in funds to work with the government. We have a variety of models, but we are working towards the regularization of informal settlements.
UN Habitat Executive Director Anna Claudia Rosbach highlighted that the new strategic plan aims to tackle the urgent challenge of informal settlements. She revealed that 2.8 billion people globally are inadequately housed, with over 1.1 billion living in informal settlements or slums and more than 300 million experiencing homelessness.
Housing crisis. Today, more than 2.8 billion people are inadequately housed. Over 1.1 billion live in informal settlements or slums, and more than 300 million are homeless. We are also losing houses to climate disasters and conflicts. Hundreds of millions. Without action, this crisis will continue to undermine efforts to reduce poverty.
Zimbabwe's tobacco industry has recorded a major leap forward, with sales reaching 237.2 million kilograms as of May 30, 2025, which is the 57th day of the marketing session. This already exceeds the 232 million kilograms sold in the entire 2024 season. This represents a 34.36% increase in mass sold compared to the same point last year, according to data from the Tobacco Industry and Marketing Board. In monetary terms, Zimbabwe has earned $800 million so far in 2025, compared to $616 million for the whole of 2024, marking a 29.89% increase in value. Authorities are optimistic of a record-breaking season.
We are progressing towards another record-breaking sales and marketing season. Of course, continuing to target the 300 million kgs mark, which we think this season we're able to reach that. So we keep our fingers crossed. The farmers are happy. The sales are really going on very, very well. We have not had major incidences. Our prices continue to be good, comparable, and sometimes surpassing the last season prices. So we are really excited. The tobacco marketing season is progressing well.
Moving on with our business stories, the Zimbabwean government is expected to strengthen its tax collection mechanisms in 2025 with a sharpened focus on emerging markets, particularly the informal sector. That's according to financial advisory firm Baker Tilly, which says the move is part of broader efforts to widen the tax base and boost public revenue. In 2024, Treasury missed several revenue targets due to leakages and low compliance among informal players. Analysts say improving tax efficiency without overburdening formal businesses is now a critical balancing act.
I think previously we didn't have legislation to penalize and tax those guys. But if you look at the current Finance Act and the 2025 Finance Act that we are using, there is a part where we are talking about taxation of the emerging sector. And on taxation of the emerging sector, that's where the minister was concentrating on informal sector. And 2025 will be a better year in terms of collecting taxes from the informal sector as compared to the prior years, because now we have the legislation, and if one is not complying, there are penalties and a number of things that have been put in place by the minister to ensure that is done.
Padenga Holdings gold mining subsidiary generated $193 million in foreign currency earnings in 2024 and contributed over $15 million in taxes. Its latest annual report reveals. The figures were disclosed by the mining subsidiary Chief Executive Officer, Mr. James Beer, in the company's third standalone sustainability report, which highlights the firm's commitment to environmental stewardship, social responsibility, and sustainable business practices. A standby for business news up next.
Didn't graduate? I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoiled.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
That guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Music transcends boundaries, where rhythm and melody unite the hearts of people. Comes a show that celebrates the power of music like never before. Get ready to dive into a sonic journey that will leave you mesmerized and yearning for more. Welcome to the captivating world of Z Vibes. Vibe to it, baby.
In entertainment news, merrymakers across the country are spoiled for choice this weekend. Here is a lineup of events to look forward to.
As winter settles in, top entertainers are ready to warm up fans on song and dance starting tonight in Harare. All eyes will be on Alexio Kawara as he serenades both old and new fans at his favorite venue, the Zimbabwe German Society. Dubbed Reboot, tonight's concert is a must-attend event for those seeking an evening of class and entertainment. An exciting lineup of local reggae stars will gather at the Green Cinema Tree in Harare tonight. Running under the banner of the Reggae Road Block series, this concert will feature Zimbabwe's top reggae artists, including Selo Culture, Buhle, Junior Bantan, Manex Motsi, Mr. Muffin, Sniper Storm, Dino Mudondo, Helga, and Satisfaction, all backed by the legendary House of Stone Band and hosted by MCJ Boss. Organizers of the 2020 Chibukunde Shangwari Traditional Dance Festival are swiftly progressing with the provincial finals set for this Saturday in Mashonaland West and Matabeleland North. In Mashonaland West, participants will compete for honors at EMM Leisure Sports Bar in Banket, where the overall winner will secure a spot in the grand finale. Meanwhile, provincial finals in Matabeleland North will take place at Lendulu Beer Hall in Wangwe. Winners from these two regions will join the Mutare-based Sebumba Arts Ensemble and Undigure from Gweru, who have already qualified for the national finals. Sungura ace Alec Macheso will perform at Club Changas in Centenary tonight. After this show, he will have another gig at Gadzi Sports Club in Chegutu this Saturday. Both performances start at 8 p.m.
A business news up next. Stay tuned. In sports, Moors welcomed Scotland to Ngoni on Saturday in what is arguably one of the biggest fixtures of the season. Captain Tafadzwa Nyabunze believes the side is ready for better. Nyabunze says he's ready to go up against a side that has a number of players who were on the Soccer Stars calendar last season and is banking on his side's home support.
Teammates nechtomasimbisa because game roro ngechitomotivata because techitotamba nemamwe players atatoshuvira kutozotamba nawo hatisi titakutotamba nawo game saka nechitomotivata singaite saka nechitovasimbisawo futi home advantage inototibatsira homa pakaipa techitoda yakakura isi totoisa 100% because inoyi home ground yedu because ungurira rifana kudisappointa masupporters edu anotiitera neanotikuridzira.
Football fans in Norton are excited to witness what they believe is their biggest rival. ZTN Prime spoke with some Moors fans who shared their excitement and expectations in the clash.
In the supporter Scotland, look around Mnotona, in the supporter Scotland. Moors is Bora Utamba. Airuro bora rakanaka ndofunga ndoona magame ayo this season ndaona almost 80% magame eMoors but zviri zvebhora kusati kwedu isusu tiri panumber 2 asi pakurova bhora Moors irurova rakachena kudarika Scott rizongowanawo maresults here and there but tough match tototyawo asi hatizotya because previous 2 matches dzatakatamba nayo yakauya kuHarare tikairova tikauya munomu ikatozoita tsatsara kuti idraw
pachanakidzani kunyepera Scotland inotofa haina kana aisombuwa kana nguva yekubatanidza Moors bhora moodzana udzana tatova nawo aya kwedu kumadzvinyi tene takazara tiriko inofa vaudza inofa ngani
2-1 hawana
wazvishaya anifunga kuti inokuwesa haitombokuwese kana kawanda
woutapadhe nani
msuna achangoti kuwesera ndewedu on go
haina problem chaida kutongomaintaina kuti tichamaintaina kana panumber 10 kana kuti chichichi but nemaresults atiri kuona arikuitwa neMoors nacoach wedu Mr. Mutasa nemaplayers are very excited. Aiwa zvinongofadza kuti ma-international players notonisona akadzidza munomu towaona futi muground munozoti isusu semafans edu tori motivated kuti at least ndaona bhora ndabva ndaonawo futi goti wangu.
It's definitely going to be an exciting match. With tickets for the match sold out, fans can also watch that match live here on ZTN Prime. Moving on with more sports news, FC Platinum coach Norman Mapeza says working on the team's weaknesses ahead of their next clash against Tel1 has been crucial. The former champions must now start to collect maximum points if they are to keep their title campaign on track. So far, they are one of the teams with many draws in the PSL, and against Yada, coach Mapeza saw similar challenges they have been experiencing.
Coming to our preparation, everything has been going well. We're working flat out. We know the challenges we've been facing now in our last few matches. So we've been trying to rectify all the problems. You know, like I always say in football, you can't leave any department in terms of the planning. So we've been working in all departments, that is our defense, our midfield, and our forwards. If you look at our last game against Yada, we had so many positives, we had so many opportunities. But like I said before, we just need to be clinical, especially in the final third. If we can improve more on our decision making, I think everything will come right.
In Tel1, they face one of the dark horses for the title, and Mapeza is optimistic what they worked on this week will help them to get the results against Herbert Marua Men.
Look, we have been creating opportunities. You know, like I said, we just need to improve on our decision making before we can. I think if we can do that, everything will come back for us. We are creating opportunities. We are getting into the final third. There is creativity in the final third, but I think that execution, we just need to improve on that. But the rest, I think everything is fine. Yeah, look, sometimes I always talk about it. Our fans, you know, they've been like a family to us. They've been a family to us. You know, in life, if there's something which is not going on in the family, everybody will come together and try to solve the problems. And our supporters, they've been doing that with us. You know, and I can't ask for more. I can't ask for more for them. And sometimes I feel for them because they've been there for us. They've been giving us more than 1,000% support. So we just need to make them happy. We just need to make them. That's what we're trying to do at the moment. They've been making us happy. We need to make them happy as well.
Simba Bora welcomed Ngezi Platinum Stars to Shamva this weekend at the back of 2 consecutive wins against Triangle and Caps United, scoring 7 goals in the process. Head coach Joel Lupahla is delighted by how his charges have fared so far, but called on his players to continue giving their all.
I think it's been difficult for us. The past 2 games that we have played versus Triangle and also away to Cape United, we managed to score 7 goals. But if you look at the way the boys have played those 2 games, it gives you, as a coach, a little bit of satisfaction. But we can do more. I've always been saying this, that I believe that these boys can do more, because I've seen them at their best when we were in pre-season in South Africa. Because South African clubs, they play good football, and these boys did well. So I've always been saying to them, can you please bring what we saw there? And slowly they are doing that. The defense has been standing tall.
A win for Simba Bora will put them within touching distance of log leaders Moz, and Lupahla called on the team's fans to come in their numbers and rally behind the sides as they play against tricky opposition.
Coming up against Ngezi, difficult game, as you say, difficult game. They play good football, they've got a good coach, they've got good players, experienced players also. So we are hoping that maybe we're going to use home advantage. Our fans, they've been magnificent this season, so we hope that they will come out and support the team and give these boys a lift, because they will need that. And you look at the other games that have been played across town, the Dynamos, Highlanders, Moz versus Scotland. We are hoping that the results will go our way. If the results favors us, there is a possibility that we might be happy come over the weekend. But we are not relaxing. We are not also taking the game lightly. We are not taking this lightly. For us to win, we need to go and perform, because they are not going to give that on a single platter. But like I said, I'm happy with the progress. I'm happy with what they're doing.
The Sports and Recreation Commission has suspended Zimbabwe Netball Association President Letitia Chipandu from all forms of netball administration in the country with immediate effect. The suspension is a result of investigations conducted by the Sports and Recreation Commission on the challenges prevailing within the Zimbabwe Netball Association administration and structures. Chipandu has been in office for over a decade. Under her tenure, the senior women's national team went to 2 World Cups, but the association was not spared of controversy and chaos over issues to do with the formation of breakaway leagues as well as unavailability of sponsorships. That's all that we had for you tonight on Newsplus. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Francisca Msheche. Have a pleasant weekend.
Didn't graduate. I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. You just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoiled.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
The guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.